you can't have a question. This is your gig.
Hi, Paul. It's a really great summary of the sector and the history of the sector. You haven't said much about impact, other than saying that more flexible, client-focused products are clearly better. What was your conclusion around the sector? For a long time has said we're lifting people out of poverty and we're ending poverty, and what can we do? How should the sector maximize impact going forward?
We did a survey 8-10 years ago, and that's a Dorothy Dixer from that I didn't even know about, but this is Callum's specialty. We used to market microfinance to go, we lent a loan, $100. I could tell you a great story about what a woman did with the business. And we would say, multiply that by 1 million and look at the impact. We lent people money. Lending somebody money, it's like anything. You lend money to people here. Some people manage it well, do productive things with it. People just get in debt. A loan means nothing. It's a financial metric. It doesn't necessarily get you out of poverty. It can get you further in poverty. And so when we started, we said, look, we're kind of misrepresenting the case. We had 2 million clients in our book. And we said, we actually don't know who's getting out of poverty, who this is improving, and who's this not. And we then started to baseline, and Callum, and we initially leveraged off a lot of the work from Grameen to say, where are people when they start? And what are the metrics that we want to measure somebody, and where are they after periods of time? And beginning to longitudinally look and go, they took a loan, and you discover some wonderful things. Like, first of all, one, not everybody is helped. Two, there's certain interventions and certain things and certain communities where it is more helpful. And, so the impact question as a social investor, we took that out. Our initial investment capital, just as an aside, was given by donation. So we took 28 families, gave us pretty much $60 million as a donation, because nobody understood social investment in this country 10 years ago. They were willing to give us and then we turned around and created an investment fund underneath it. But because they donated it, they wanted to say that, are we getting people out of poverty or not? And so we had to answer this question, and unfortunately the first answer was not a good one. We're not helping as many people as we thought. And we then began to make strategic decisions on where to invest, what institution invest, what products, etc. So is that, at least it's a deeper, Callum he could do a session on it.
Someone got a burning question? Because I do want to have a chance to discuss this at tables. Burning?
Well, yeah, just very quickly. You may know that, Paul, that NAB and CSI have actually done a series of reports in Australia on financial exclusion. About 3.2 million people in Australia qualify. One of the questions I just want to ask you was if you could go to the bit at the core of the controversy, and it's certainly here as well. We run a microfinance program. It's an interest-bearing microcredit product. People think it is abhorrent that you might charge poor people interest. I just wonder if you could speak to that issue for a moment.
I'll deal with it from the poor in developing countries, and I'll come to here, pay more for everything. More at an absolute level and more at a relative level. Because, and I'll use a really simple example, when you and I buy flour or sugar or rice, you buy a package. In India, Philippines, Africa, anywhere, somebody buys a package, splits it into 100 bags, triples the price, and sells it to you because they can't afford. It's just reality. So, and as a percentage, so one was, I said, the average interest rate of a loan shark is somewhere between 100 and 400%, and I have verified that every single client I went to see for 6 years. And so to me is when we say, hey, we're charging 15% and somebody was used to be charging 300, I have a moral argument, but there's an economic argument at that level. If the mindset is that everything is free, which this model, let me tackle another way. There's 1 billion people on the planet that I don't think microfinance works for. They are the lowest income. They are either too sick, too hungry, too to marginalized to have productive economic activity as an entrepreneur. So for me to labor them with debt is abhorrent, because I know that they're either too hungry, and so I then move to and go, where is my intervention effective? These people are working, they're productive, they just need the opportunity that $100 will unleash. And I look at it as a moral argument to give them that $100, and they're willing to pay because they're paying 400%, is absolutely choice for them. They love it, and I've never had the moral, but I understand if people are so indebted that they can't, then I agree with you. But in that in-between where people are able-bodied and willing, and this is a choice for them, I've never had the debate where the client said, I don't want your money, and it's abhorrent.
Thanks, Paul. I think there's obviously so much from the emergence of this market that we can apply to the emergence of the market that we've been talking about in the last 2 days. So what I'd love us to do is spend the next 5 or 10 minutes, same gig, so get around a table with some other people and talk about what lessons can we learn for ourselves from the way the market of microfinance has emerged globally.